to do 4 things. Increase climate literacy, turn up the volume on communities of color in the climate conversation, connect everyday people with the resources they need to survive and thrive, and highlight frontline climate justice crusaders of color throughout this year. KBLA Talk 1580 will be bringing you insightful interviews on all of our shows to help raise your climate IQ. Each quarter this year, we will also be hosting free climate events in various communities throughout the city with food, fun, and forward-thinking conversations. Thanks to partners like LADWP, Metro, Caltrans, the Sierra Club, the California Community Foundation, the California Endowment, AQMD, MWD, and more. You'll also be hearing more about a couple of national town halls broadcasting live from Los Angeles, to which you will be invited. And we'll be rolling out a robust social media campaign on all our platforms, as well as an outdoor media campaign, all designed to educate, enlighten, and empower you in our fight for climate justice.
We want cleaner air.
Caring about the community means caring about the climate. At KBLA Talk 1580, we believe that we really can change the world if we care enough. If we care enough. If we care enough. If we care enough.
You ready?
It's the queen of royal badness.
It's time for the Rob Report with Robin Ayers. Highlighting people and things you should know about. Robin's got you covered. Follow Robin at Robin Ayers. You're listening to the Rob Report on KBLA Talk 1580. Robin's got a lot to talk about.
The Raw Report on KBLA Talk 1580, where we bring you the latest in entertainment news, trending topics, and interviews. I am your host, Robin Ayers, with you Monday through Friday, 6 to 7 p.m. on your drive home. Some of you are already at home according to the freeway. Many of you are at home today. Your kids are probably at home as well. I hope you enjoyed your weekend, your Easter, Resurrection Sunday, all of that good stuff. I hope you ate well. I hope you slept well. Hope you praised and worshiped at church. Whatever you did, I hope it was a very relaxing weekend for you. It definitely was for me. So, yeah, I appreciate that. But it's Monday. We are getting the party started. I see you, Raw Squad, coming on up into our YouTube chat. Good to see you guys. I'm looking forward to having our conversation today. We have a wonderful contributor who I just love. I love having conversations with her. And I think that we're going to get some great insight from her today regarding our topics. We'll get to that in just a few moments. But I want to shout out Diddy's son. I'm not talking about Diddy, y'all. I'm not talking about Diddy, but his son, King Combs. It is his birthday. And you know what? He deserves to celebrate his birthday with some joy. It's a lot going on over there in the household of the Combs, but he seems to be having a great time. He was spotted with his girlfriend over in the club. I believe 26 years old. That is, that sounds about right. Like you should be doing, having yourself a good time for your birthday. So shout out to King Combs. Also, wow. So one of my favorite, their super group, okay, the super group producing group, it's called Neptunes, Pharrell and Chad Hugo. They are, who would have ever thought after years of being together and producing music, that they'd be battling. They're actually battling over the Neptunes name rights, which is interesting. So I don't know what that means for them. I actually don't know if they produced anything really recent, but they have some of the biggest hits that we've heard, some of the biggest hits that have provided the soundtrack to our lives. And now, it seems they're battling. So maybe this means it could be the end of that producing group. But we know that Pharrell, at least, is still doing some really awesome things out here in the fashion world, of course, still doing some television things as well. So he's going to be all right. I'm sure Chad will be all right, too. I don't know what he's doing these days, but I'm sure he's good. Also, today is 30. I always get tickled when I have to report stuff like this because, man, it be making me feel old. I'm not even that old. I'm real young, for real. But 30 years ago, Sister premiered with, Tia and Tamara, the twins. Sister for 30 years ago. What? When did that happen? I got to know. I don't know. Well, it happened 30 years ago. But speaking of Sister and that TV series that was very, very popular as we were growing up, we are going to be talking about series today, television series, and what that might look like in the very near future. Before we get to that, Kobe Bryant's 2000 championship ring has sold. Remember, we had a conversation about that just a week or two ago, where his parents they had officially put it on the market. It was getting some bids at the time, and it has sold for nearly $1 million. Now, Gilbert Arenas recently was just talking about the fact that you can't knock them. You can't knock the parents because they might need the money. If they don't have money, then they don't have money, and you use whatever you can, which is of value, which happens to be their son's championship ring. Granted, their late son, so, some could argue and have argued that they'll never be able to get that back. It's irreplaceable. It's priceless. But if they needed the money, then they had to do what they had to do. So, yep, here we are nearly $1 million later, and that ring has sold. So just wanted to give you guys the update on that. Andy, let's get into the Raw Report.
Now it's time for a breakdown.
Okay, we are talking about television series today. So Brandy recently had a conversation, a sit-down chat with her Stella Rosa Brandy event that she's been doing sort of nationwide. I think they're coming back to LA to do something pretty soon. But she sat down with an entertainment correspondent over at Page 6, and she talked about the possibility of doing a MOESHA special, a reunion special. But I was thinking, this might be something that we have to look forward to. Everybody's always talking about new content, original content. Well, we recently saw not long ago that Martin actually did that. They had a brilliant, I thought, very entertaining special reunion, and it looked good. Brandy says she's interested in it. We'll talk about it. And is this something that we should probably get used to? Because, last week, if you listen into the show, we have been talking about remakes and people who have a problem with rebooting shows and movies and things like that. Well, this is sort of a different take on that. So we'll get into that conversation. But the conversation that I'm actually really looking forward to getting to is, do we correct these youth out here, these teenagers, these young kids, young adults even, who are addressing elders by their first name, such as Maya Angelou, Dr. Maya Angelou. Hold on, let me put some respect on her name. We will talk about all of that, and we'll bring you some video clips so you guys can be caught up just like we are. So we're going to get to all of that, and our contributor on the other who's on the line with us, we'll get to that on the other side. You're listening to the Raw Report on KBLA Talk 1580. Stay there.
Yo, what's going on? It's your boy Eric Bellinger hanging out right here with my family at the Raw Report. Keep it locked.
You're inside the Raw Report with Robin Ayers on KBLA Talk 1580.
Getting your biggest tax refund from Jackson Hewitt can lead to some spirited reactions.
Jackson Hewitt!
Jackson Hewitt is so sure they'll get you your biggest refund that if they don't, you get your money back plus $100.
Jackson Hewitt!
Switch to Jackson Hewitt and we'll beat what you paid last year, even if you filed online.
Yeah!
Ain't nothing to it. Switch to Jackson Hewitt and pay less for tax prep, guaranteed. Proof of prior year payment required when filing. New clients only at participating locations through April 7th. Terms at jacksonhewitt.com.
Lowe's knows pros need the right tools for every job. That's why we sell the largest in-store selection of Klein tools anywhere. Find new items like the self-leveling green laser level for just $159.98. Plus, shop the Connect pass-through socket set for $49.98, which you can only find at Lowe's. Shop Klein tools in-store and online today, because Lowe's knows tools. Lowe's knows pros.
Linking social justice and climate justice all year long. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
My ride smells just right, just right, just right, just right.
Y'all gotta try that Febreze car.
Just right, just right, just right, just right. La 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 la. Hooked up to 40 days of consistency. On low Febreze car clips right on your vent. You know my car's my happy place. Keep that smile on my face. When it smells just right, just right, just right. Yeah, breathe happy Febreze. La 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 la.
Giving you your daily dose of entertainment and celebrity news. You're inside the Robin Report with Robin Ayers on KBLA Talk 1580.
All right, let's go ahead and get started with our conversation. We've got on the line with us today, Daja Bell. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fantastic. How have you been? How's everything with the podcast and life?
Whew. Well, I'm happy I'm on spring break. I took a 5-hour test today, which did a lot to my soul and my spirit. But the pod is doing great. We still are dropping literally every day, 30, 45-minute episodes a day. So that's fun. And this is a talking all about Diddy Week and kind of recapping on everything that happened. I actually was absent for the conversation, but I did sit in on it via Zoom while the boys basically took over the convo. But I think it was a good convo for them to have and kind of like spear hold because I'm diddied out. Like, I can't.
Join the club. Join the club. I am diddied out. I'm telling you. And everywhere I've gone, people want to continue having the conversation off mic. I'm like, listen, I'm off the clock right now. I need everybody to just relax about Diddy.
There's not much we can do. Like, we were not there, honey. Like, what you want us to do?
Yes, exactly. Absolutely. Well, I'm glad that you are doing well. I'm glad the podcast is doing well. I want to jump right into this conversation that I really want to have. I want to get your take on it, especially because you deal with youth, you deal with kids, you're a teacher. And so you talk with them on a regular basis, and I'm sure they respect you because I can just tell you don't play that, which is great.
Yeah, don't play with me.
I already know. But again, I want to shout out to Big Court, who is he is the podcast host of Holding Court. And he actually mentioned this conversation, and I thought about it like, wow, this should be discussed. And this is a video that he went ahead and dropped about Dr. Maya Angelou from 30 years ago. So let's go ahead and take a listen to it.
I'm curious. I want to take a poll and see what you guys think about this. So there is a clip going around that's 30 years old from the Donahue Show of Maya Angelou sternly correcting a young girl who referred to her by her first name as Maya. Dr. Angelou told her, "You are not qualified to call me by my first name." She was very respectful, but she was very stern as how we was raised. That generation, that's how they spoke to you. Now, a lot of people are going back and forth of, oh, she was disrespectful. Oh, she didn't have to correct her. Who does she think she is to demand to be called Miss Angelou and not by her first name? I was born in the 70s. I'm a Gen Xer. We were taught etiquette and respect. You say Mr., you say Miss, Mrs., you say please, and you say thank you, and you say you're welcome. Now, if you were to call an adult by their first name, it's because they granted you permission. And you usually call them Miss Pamela or Miss Pam or Miss Jeannie or whatever the name was, right? But there was always that Miss there if you were to call them by their first name. So now the debate is, do kids need to earn do the adults need to earn the respect of a child? I don't understand that. So what are you guys' take on this?
Okay, so he had a poll on his own post that he posted with this video. But in case you guys have not heard the original video from where it came from, before I go to you, Daja, because I really want to hear your take on this. If you have not heard the original video, let's take a listen to when Dr. Maya Angelou was on this show. She was standing on stage, and they opened up the Q&A from audience members. Let's take a listen.
Kim, you had a question.
Yeah, I wanted to ask Maya her views on interracial relationships.
Oh, thank you. And first, I'm Miss Angelou.
Miss Angelou?
Yes, ma'am. I'm not Maya. I'm 62 years old. I have lived so long and tried so hard that a young woman like you or any other you have no license to come up to me and call me by my first name.
Excuse me.
That's first. That's first. Also,
Okay,
because at the same...
Well, let's play the rest of that.
I'm your auntie. I'm your teacher. I'm your professor. You see? The question is, what do I feel about interracial relations?
Thank you. So she went on to answer the question, but she corrected her, and yes, it was stern. You could even hear it in the audience. The people gasped. They didn't know what they were like, whoa. But where do you stand with this whole thing? This was a young lady, probably early 20s, it probably even like maybe late teens, young 20s. But as she mentioned, Dr. Maya Angelou was 62 years old at that time. I will turn the mic over to you, Dajabel.
I feel like I'm in the middle because I do understand that there is a respect aspect that is involved. Growing up, my grandmother being from the South, being from New Bern, North Carolina, it was very much ingrained in us that we needed to be respectful, Mr., Mrs., by first name or last name. But I feel like with the way that things are and the way like some things are just kind of antiquated. It's an old rhetoric. I don't allow obviously my students to call me by my first name, but if you've graduated or if you're older, I don't mind if they call me by my first name. Like I have students that are now college age. Because I started teaching over almost 10 years ago. So they're adults now. So I don't expect them to call me by my last name anymore. But what they do call me is they call me Miss D, which kind of is my first name and last name at the same time. But I also feel like when it comes to my daughter, I forget sometimes like, oh, call this person Miss such and such. Like if you're my friend, then I'm going to introduce my daughter to you as my friend's name. So if you're like one of my close friends, you'll call Auntie Robin. You're not just going to say, oh, this is Robin. It's Auntie Robin. Or if you meet my boss, I call my boss by her last name. So I introduce my daughter to my boss by the last name. So I think it matters for me at this point, the relationship that I have with somebody on how I want my daughter to address them. But when it's close friends, it's uncle and auntie at all times. If it's acquaintances, like I don't really care about you that much. Like you just somebody that you fly by in the middle of the night. So if your name is Savannah, hey, Savannah girl. Parker's going to say, hey, Savannah. And I don't know.
So if she's just Savannah, you tell your daughter it's okay to call her just Savannah.
Look, you not even gang like that. Like, I don't really care. Like, if you feel away, then you could say something, but...
Okay. I hear you. I want to talk about that. Let's go ahead and get to this call from Fahima and hear what she has to say about the matter. Hey, Fahima.
Hey, Robin. And greetings to your special contributor. Actually, I've experienced this in the past. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, I've experienced this in the past, and I'm experiencing it this semester. I send out a notice to my students asking them to introduce themselves, and I call all of them Mr. This and Miss That, and I sign it Professor Sack. And I had one young lady who was continuing to respond to me using my first name, which I think is a sign of disrespect. Because I had a student a few years ago, he was trying to be a smart aleck. Him and I have since, resolved that. In fact, I've been kind of a mentor to him and providing him letters of recommendations. But he was trying to be smart. And this young lady, I don't know if she's deliberately being disrespectful or doesn't know any better. But, when you have people that are in positions, because I don't call my students by their first names. I call them, when I'm communicating with them, I'll say Mr. Johnson, Miss Smith, etc. And I think sometimes people are being disrespectful deliberately, or sometimes they just don't know any better.
Okay. Well, that's a really good point. Fahima, before I let you go, do you feel like it devalues it a little bit to say Miss Robin rather than Mrs. Ayers? Is there some a loss in value there?
Well, no, whatever you feel comfortable with, but they do need to put a handle on it. If you feel comfortable with them calling you Miss Robin or Mrs. Ayers, that's up to you. But we have to maintain boundaries. Because even my students who, after they've been my students, they still call me Professor Sack. And if you were comfortable with them saying Miss Ayers or Miss Robin, that's fine. But they need to put a handle and respect on your name.
Well said. Okay. It is. I think there is something to talk about when it comes to culture and everything that we're losing sight of. Fahima, thank you so much for your call. I hear that. I agree with you. And shout out to you for addressing your students that way and making sure that they address you that way as well. So I deeply respect that. Thank you, Fahima.
Thank you.
Okay, Daja.
Like, no, I totally get that. Like, I get
Yeah.
that because I feel like of a certain age, like there is a certain amount of respect that you should give. But for me, I think it's about giving students and children in general, like the benefit of the doubt and letting them know how you want to be addressed by them. Like, I wouldn't let that slide. Like, I do have a student, he calls me Daja, but he says it like in a way because I think that he just loves the fact that he knows what my name is. So he'll say it secretly. Like, I'll walk by, he'll be like, hey, Daja, and I'll turn around and he'll be like, I'm sorry, Miss D, da-da-da. Like, it's like a joking banter that we have. So he knows that I'm not going to allow students to walk around and call me Daja. But at the end of the day, like, we've developed such a bond of rapport. Like, I understand it. And I'm like, you got 2 more months, and I swear, you can call me Daja. You have 2 more months, but in this building, while we still in this building, don't play with me. And that's like our banter.
I hear that. And you know what? I think that I agree with the fact that you should be able now, since we're having this conversation, just in general, we should now definitely put the expectation on young people. If they do address you a certain kind of way, then you should correct them. However, there is something wrong with what's going on in culture right now. We are losing some of these key nuances that made us who we are today, right? Going to Forrest Harrison's comment over in YouTube, he says, teaching young people the little respectful things leads to a lifetime of respectful behavior that lasts a lifetime. It doesn't hurt and it's good for you. I agree with that. It's less about how we're teaching you to address me. Yes, I do think that is special. I think that's something that we all should do, but it stems from home. It comes from home. My children, they grew up saying, now where we did start to lose it a little bit, and this is what I was asking Fahima, if there's a loss in value if I teach my kid to say Mrs. Ayers versus Miss Robin, is that a loss in value? Right. I just think that that's a cultural shift, but it still puts respect on the name. So my kids have learned to, they grew up learning to approach people and address people as Mr. Andy, Mr. Tavis. Now, with Tavis Smiley, for instance, I'm going to call him Mr. Smiley or, that type of thing, because when it does maybe, come down to age ranges or something like that. I don't even know. But I do think that we've lost that completely. I personally cringe at times when I hear a little kid straight up calling me, hey, Robin, because that is what their parent allows them to do. Like when you said your kid can call Savannah, the water almost came out of my mouth, because that's happened to me before. Someone, and I don't know if it's I don't know if the parent just wants them to be casual with me, like open arms with me, or if it's just that they don't put that type of respect on it. I don't know, but
I think it is that. I think it is that. I think it definitely goes into parenting, because I have cousins from the South, and when they came up to visit us in New York and Brooklyn, everything was yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir. And my aunt one day was just like, all right, listen, chill out with the yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. You could just say yes, auntie. You could just say yes. Like, it gets weird. Like, I think it's a cultural thing. I think it's a generational thing. And I think that this generation is moving further away from, like, the antiquated way of speaking to each other, because I don't know if it's disrespectful to call someone by their name. Like, I don't know what part of that gives disrespect. I feel like tone is disrespect. I feel like the word choice can be disrespect. But if your name, like, his father named him Clay, so I'm gonna call him Clay. Like, that's the attitude. Like, I don't know if I'm going to put that much emphasis on it, but I do think that it needs to be emphasized in certain settings, i.e. school, i.e. work, i.e., a coach or something like that. But if it's just a regular, degular person that you don't have like even like a sense of hierarchy in a way over my child, like,
You're right. They would not call it, and it does depend on who you're talking to and what generation they came from, because a certain generation is not going to call it disrespectful. They're like, that's your name, right? Right. So they feel like they're not calling you out of your name. They're addressing you by your name. But it only feels strange to us, those of us who grew up having to address people as Mr. or Mrs. or auntie, uncle, by a certain handle, right? So I get that. It's the same as if you grew up having to take your hands out your pocket or take your hat off when you're inside. If you see someone else walking indoors, and they have their hat on, they don't think that that's disrespectful. Other people who sit with their elbows on the table, they don't consider that disrespectful because they didn't learn that. It's definitely a gap in the way that we all learned in our generations. But those of us who had learned those things, who do still sort of adhere to that, again, it just sometimes might feel a little bit disrespectful. But I have to admit, even though I felt like I mentioned, I cringe sometimes, it's becoming desensitized to me, because I don't take it as you are trying to disrespect me by calling me my first name. I don't take it as that any longer. It just feels weird, but I don't see it as disrespect, because I do understand that there's just a difference in how we all are being raised. When we come forward, though, I do want to continue this conversation, as well as the conversation that I've been looking to have, to see what you think about these TV sitcom reunions and how that's going. We'll see. We'll talk about that on the other side. Right now, we've got news, traffic, and sports. You're listening to The Rob Report on KBLA Talk 1580.
What's going on? What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Denzel Whitaker, and I'm on The Rob Report.
More of The Rob Report with Robin Ayers when we come forward.
I'm Amber Payton. Here's the latest on the Black Information Network. Crews are working to build a temporary channel around the site of the Baltimore Bridge collapse for commercially essential vessels. The Francis Scott Key Bridge collapsed last week after it was struck by a cargo ship, killing 6 construction workers. The wreckage blocked a vital shipping lane in the port of Baltimore. Federal and state officials announced the temporary channel late on Sunday, but did not give a timeline for when it would be completed. The port of Baltimore is one of the country's busiest ports. The Car Center in Detroit says a series of setbacks are putting them in danger of having to close. The facility was opened in 2009 and focuses on bringing black art to the Metro Detroit area. The center went from raising more money than they were spending in 2019 to now having a $300,000 deficit. CEO Oliver Rackstill Jr. says they are continuing to push forward. However, he is thinking about retiring and is also concerned about finding someone else to replace him that has the same passion as he does. That's the latest. I'm Amber Payton on your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network.
Be advised of a singular crash in Santa Ana that has 3 right lanes blocked over on the 5 South at Grand Avenue. Santa Ana Boulevard split. Emergency crews are currently on scene and watch for stop traffic from Highway 22, Bristol Street Interchange up to 30 minutes. In Anaheim Hills, a stall is currently blocking the right shoulder of the 91 East after Highway 241. Heavy traffic continues from Imperial Highway up to 25-30 minutes. And over in Long Beach on the 91 East before the 710, watch for a stall blocking the center lane with heavy traffic coming from Santa Fe Avenue.
Compassion sponsorship means food, healthcare, education, and more for a child in poverty. And there are thousands of kids who've been waiting over a year. End their wait. Sponsor a child with compassion today. Text the word radio to 83393.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The LA Times issued an apology for a story that referred to LSU's women's basketball team as villains, dirty debutantes, and Louisiana hot sauce. The story, written by sports writer Ben Bolch, appeared in Saturday's paper as a preview to the UCLA-LSU game. Management at the Times apologized to LSU and the paper's readers for language that, and I quote, was inappropriate and offensive and did not meet the Times editorial standards, end quote. LSU coach Kim Mulkey expressed anger at the story after her team beat UCLA Saturday in the NCAA women's tournament. LeBron is one of only 2 players in NBA history to score 40 or more points multiple times after turning 39. His 40 points Sunday at Brooklyn was the second time he's dropped 40 or more at age 39. Michael Jordan, who played until he was 40, did it 3 times in his career. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Climate is king.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we believe that caring for the community means caring about the climate. You might have heard that we announced a pretty bold 12-month, $2 million campaign to do 4 things. Increase climate literacy, turn up the volume on communities of color in the climate conversation, connect everyday people with the resources they need to survive and thrive, and highlight frontline climate justice crusaders of color throughout this year. KBLA Talk 1580 will be bringing you insightful interviews on all of our shows to help raise your climate IQ. Each quarter this year, we will also be hosting free climate events in various communities throughout the city with food, fun, and forward-thinking conversations. Thanks to partners like LADWP, Metro, Caltrans, the Sierra Club, the California Community Foundation, the California Endowment, AQMD, MWD, and more. You'll also be hearing more about a couple of national town halls broadcasting live from Los Angeles, to which you will be invited. And we'll be rolling out a robust social media campaign on all our platforms, as well as an outdoor media campaign, all designed to educate, enlighten, and empower you in our fight for climate justice.
We want cleaner air.
Caring about the community means caring about the climate. At KBLA Talk 1580, we believe that we really can change the world if we care enough.
With your Los Angeles Public Library card, you can access the latest music, movies, audiobooks, ebooks, graphic novels, and more, all for free. Check it out at lapl.org/emedia. That's lapl.org/emedia.
Tips to help improve your credit score in 2024. Establishing credit is an important key to achieving financial health, but building a credit history from scratch can feel challenging since you need credit to build credit. First, what does it mean to build credit? All consumers have a score between 300 and 850. You want your score to be as high as possible as lenders look at your credit score to make loan and credit decisions. A good credit score shows you have a track record of borrowing money responsibly. Remember, it's never too late to build or rebuild your credit. This segment is sponsored by J.P. Morgan Chase & Company.
Substance use disorder and addiction is so isolating. And so, as a Black woman in recovery, hope must be loud. It grows louder when you ask for help and you're vulnerable. It is the thread that lets you know that no matter what happens, you will be okay.
When we learn the power of hope, recovery is possible. Find out how at startwithhope.com. Brought to you by the National Council for Mental Wellbeing, Shatterproof, and the Ad Council.
Keeping you informed about what's really going on. Who's got next? And what not to miss in entertainment. You're listening to The Rob Report on KBLA Talk 1580.
Let's dance in style, let's dance for a while. Heaven can wait, we're only watching the skies. Hoping for the best, but expecting the worst. Are you gonna drop the bomb or not? Let us die young or let us live forever. We don't have the power, but we never say never. Sitting in a sandpit, life is a short trip. The music's for the sad man. Forever young, I wanna be forever young.
You are inside the Rob Report on KBLA Talk 1580. Andy, I appreciate you so much. Andy, for so many reasons. Andy is always on point, and he's one of the funniest guys that I know. I mean, truly be having me rolling. We just had a great conversation offline. We are on the phone with Daja Bell, who is an entertainment contributor for the Rob Report, but also a teacher, and she is a third of the So Shameless podcast. And so she does this, okay? She talks about great things, has great insight on these topics. So we're talking about calling elders by their first name, and should young people be corrected? And you know, Daja, Andy and I were having a great conversation. I wanted to mention a few things just to see if I could get a little bit of clarity on this and why I feel a certain kind of way when people address me as just my first name, or some people, the conversation, we dug a little bit deeper. Some people will call you auntie. Some people will call you, Miss Robin. I never, just to be clear, I never have a problem with anybody calling me Miss Robin. Well, okay, no, that's not true. Andy, okay, and I'm gonna give the microphone. Andy, do you want? Okay, so when I first started working here, when I first started coming to work, I didn't know Andy like that clearly. We just started working together, and every time he saw me, he'd call me Miss Robin. And Andy, we are in the same age group, right? In the same age group. Okay, so I consider him a peer. He was calling me Miss Robin, and I felt like, what you trying to say? Like, why you
trying to say I'm older?
That's what I felt like. That's what I felt like. Who you talking to? That's what I felt like. Who are you talking to? And then I finally said, I was like, you could just call me Robin. I kept saying it, but he'd even slip up and be like, yeah, Miss Robin. I'm sorry, Robin. He would correct himself, right? And then one day we had a conversation. He was like, I'm just saying it out of respect. He was like, I call everybody Miss or Mr., which he does. He does. He's very respectful of everyone that calls and everything like that. But I can't help. I felt a certain kind of way when a peer, someone who I considered in my own age group, called me Miss Robin. And so, he wasn't a teacher, a professor, anything like that. So I had a problem with it. And then we went ahead, Daja, and discussed when people call you auntie. Now, auntie, I was trying to explain to Andy, signifies that you are starting to get into a certain age group. You are sort of in the bridge between young and elder when people call you auntie. Do you feel any one way about when people call you auntie or anything like that, or Miss Daja, or any outside of your students, by the way?
I mean, respectfully, I didn't hit the auntie side yet.
Okay.
I didn't get there. And I don't know how I'm going to feel when I get there, because I am a youthful 34, right? Don't play if I'm not 40, I'm not your aunt, okay? But you want to know what's crazy? Even my niece, she does not call me Auntie Daj.
Oh, okay.
She calls me Daj.
Oh, wow.
And don't call me auntie, little. No, I'm not. I don't subscribe to it yet. I'm not that mature. I don't know who put me in charge of all these kids in the first place. I don't know. So no.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
Well, you know what they say is when you start approaching the 30, young 30, mid 30s, they technically say that's when you become auntie to just any old body, right? Not even family. You become auntie. That's what they say, Daja. That's what they say.
No, but it's true, because I had to have a conversation with my friends recently. Like, we are the aunties and the uncles now. So we're still looking around like, who's throwing the barbecues and the family reunions? And technically, we are at the age that it's supposed to be us, but we're so immature as a generation, it ain't gonna happen. That's why we're losing recipes. When my mother and them was 34, they were like adult.
Yeah.
Like, they wore slacks and suits and stuff. I wear the same thing as my students. Like, I come in with my sneakers and my J's and my sweatshirts, and we kicking it like, I'm not that mature.
I totally hear that.
That's what it is.
I hear that.
It's a maturity thing.
Lastly to that point, we are losing recipes. That's why I went to my grandparents just a couple years ago, rather, and I said, give me your gumbo recipe, please. And I sat down. I literally have a photo. My cousin took a photo of me sitting at the feet of my grandfather, who gave me, line by line and ingredient by ingredient and the process of how to make gumbo. We need that. Yeah, we need it. We need to, because whether we like it or not, whether we like the aunties or any of the titles, we are becoming that. And it's not we could do about it. We might as well, take it and own it. Penny Thompson.
It's an identity crisis at this point.
It is. I know. I totally get it. Many people actually older than us would consider it. They would consider it an honor for you to say, those types of things, Miss, Mrs., Auntie. They would consider it an honor. But for those of us who don't want to be so old quite yet, we're like, address me as my first name if you are within a certain age group. Penny Thompson says when my granddaughter was 5 or 6, she met her mom's boss and she started calling him Mr. Dr. Vickers. I mean, that is the epitome of respect, right? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
She also said our middle school math teacher would address all of his students with Miss or Mister. He gave us respect and received respect. Now, those dynamics, I can totally understand that because of,
Right.
what we're dealing with. But right now, 62% of you say that you do cringe when young people call elders by their first name. 38% of you say no. So I know who's in this group. All right, I know who we're looking
Yep.
at here. There's some people who are like, listen, it's all respect these days. Just throw it out the window. Nobody's disrespecting you unless they call you out of your
Mm-hmm.
name. So I hear that. Let's briefly move on to this conversation that Brandy recently had about possibly starting up or possibly being interested in a reunion. Let's take a listen to Brandy when she was having this conversation.
About doing a cast reunion special, something like what Martin did on HBO Max.
I would actually love that. I haven't seen the cast in a long time. I would love to see everybody and see how everybody's doing and see what everybody is up to.
And have you reached out to any of your cast members lately, especially like Cheryl Lee Ralph? She's killing it right now with Abbott Elementary.
I'm so supportive of everybody. I haven't talked to anybody, but I'm very supportive of
Okay. Well, I mean, fair enough. Some people are like, okay, are we going to do, I mean, I hear you're interested, but are we going to do this? Is this MOESHA reunion something that you'd be interested in seeing personally, Daja?
Absolutely not. MOESHA was one of the most toxic shows I've ever seen in my life.
Toxic? Really?
Frank was the most toxic father, the most toxic, misogynistic television father ever. It does not hold. Don't watch MOESHA now. In 2024, don't even do it. Just let it, whatever it is and however it rests in your brain, just leave it like that. Because if you watch 3 episodes now, it is cringe. And I never really liked Frank back then, but now, the way he used to talk to his daughter, like they would really have to address the nuance of what was socially acceptable then for a parent-daughter, father-daughter relationship versus what we feel like it is now. And it would be so much to unpack because it's cringe. Like, he would accuse her of everything. He thought she was the biggest harlot in the world. She did anything, stepped out of line. Like, he used to talk to MOESHA crazy. No, keep it.
Wow.
Save it.
You know what? I have to admit, you are the very first person I have ever heard say that. But you know what? I mean, your own experience and how you viewed it is completely yours, and I respect that. I guess I'd have to go back and watch it. I'd have to go back
Don't watch it, Robin.
You said
don't do it.
Don't do
My
that to
mother,
yourself.
I used to watch Xena Warrior Princess and Hercules. That used to come on Channel 11. Those used to be my shows. And I was so into it, and I thought they were the best shows in the world. And my mother used to always come in the room like, you watch this corny show again? And I'm like, it's not corny. It's the best thing ever. And then I found these same shows streaming, couldn't get through one episode. I said, what am I watching? And that's how I felt about MOESHA. Like, MOESHA, it did not stand the test of time. And I feel like there are certain things that are just nostalgic and might need to be where it is. I feel like when it comes to a Martin, that cast and those jokes, they do stand the test of time. See, the cast had interpersonal issues with each other, which is the reason why it ended. But as a collection of work, it still works today. You can still watch Martin episodes and laugh about it today. And this is from 20, 30 years ago. A MOESHA episode?
Well, I mean, the same goes for them. The MOESHA cast, we hear, I mean, of course, obviously, they're just rumors and nothing has been. Actually, Fredro Starr, who was on MOESHA recently, came out and said there was some tension behind closed doors, but that's from his mouth. He wasn't involved. He just said, the rumors were true. But I think that's sort of with maybe every cast, every television show has something underlying there. Could possibly, maybe not. But so regardless of how you felt, and maybe this is more the question. Just in general, would you be interested in seeing that sort of dynamic? How, what we used to watch that played into our lives, like MOESHA, for instance, that played into a piece of my life just because I paid more attention to the friendships, the topics, things that were happening I could relate to. I didn't necessarily see it from, Frank, the dad. I didn't see it as, toxic or anything like that. But just in general, the dynamic of how we watched it then, would you be interested in seeing TV show reunions sort of pop up as like a thing, you know what I'm saying, as new content, for instance, because people are always now talking about, we need original content. That is original content, bringing back, reunions. What do you think?
I would just like to move forward as somebody that watched a lot of TV growing up, because there was just like a surplus of so many great shows. And now being an adult, and I don't watch TV as much because there isn't that surplus anymore. And a lot of our favorite shows are getting like canceled. I don't need it. What I need is the shows that we are in love with now to continue to character develop and move forward instead of us continuously looking to the past. And we're continuously looking to the past because those are the amazing all black cast that we grew up on. And these all black shows, they don't exist anymore. Like, it's somebody black father with a racially ambiguous mother and racially ambiguous kids. Like, it's not the way that it was when we were in the 90s and in the early 2000s. And I think that we need to push forward and get back to that versus grabbing something from the past and bringing it into the future, if that makes sense.
No, it does make sense. I'll be honest with you in my thoughts about character development and things that we see just even right now. There are some shows that have lasted 5 seasons, 6 seasons. Those shows do well, but they all need to end. And I'll tell you why. Because when you story develop too much, the show becomes something that we never fell in love with in the very beginning. We fell in love with a particular show because of what it was, the characters, because of who they were. But when we start adding people to it, when we start changing drastically storylines just for the appeal of keeping people watching, it loses its appeal for me. And I'm like, Like, I'll never forget, Ozark is one of the greatest shows, I felt like. And I watched Ozark. I was so into it. And then it changed. I was just like, what am I watching? What is this? I used to like this so much. And all of these shows nowadays have a tendency to do that. Right now, it looks like 80% of you think that it actually would be interesting to see TV reunions, reunion specials. I agree with that. I think it would be kind of cool. Maybe even if they came on set, it's like a sort of remade set of the, what used to be. And they talk about some of the behind the scenes stories, fun facts, anything like that. They played a few bloopers from back then. I think that type of thing would be pretty fun. And again, it would be original content. So, but I respect you and I hear you. And now you got me wanting to watch a little bit of MOESHA. I know you said leave it alone,
Don't
Dasha.
watch it.
It's just,
Don't do
I'm
it.
curious. I'm like, well, what was Frank saying?
No, he was violating that little teenage girl. Everything that she did that tiptoe out of line like teenage girls do. He just made it seem like she was the worst person in the world, like she just wasn't a teenager. Meanwhile, you running around with your uncle's son. Shut up.
Wow. Okay, well, Forrest Harrison said Frank was being a real dad. We will digress on that topic and let you guys, we'll leave it where it's at. Daja Bell, I appreciate you so much for calling in today and just joining me in on this conversation. Where can people find you online?
You can find me every week on So Shameless. You can follow us at So Shameless Pod on Instagram, at So Shameless Pod on TikTok. And if you find my page in the midst of there, have fun. I answer back. And if you say something mean in the comments, I'm going to talk about your mama. So there's that.
Dasha, thank you.
I'm serious, too.
Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your night, Dasha.
You too.
And she ain't playing either. Okay, so you guys go follow her online. She is always great to have on the show with us. When we come forward, we've got a Who's Got Next for you on the other side. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey, what's up? It's your girl BB, and you're listening to me on The Raw Report on KBLA Talk 1580.
You're inside The Raw Report with Robin Ayers on KBLA Talk 1580.
Did you know there is a healthcare system serving our community whose vision is health for a better world? What if I told you? One of our nation's leading healthcare providers has a department dedicated to health equity and community engagement. Providence is Southern California's largest and most comprehensive healthcare network with 11 hospitals and 40 urgent care centers. Providence treats each patient with the compassionate care they deserve, when and where they need it. Most importantly, Providence is a diverse family of people and organizations driven by the belief that health is a human right. Providence takes pride in forming community alliances that address health concerns that disproportionately impact those communities. For Minority Health Month, Providence is sponsoring Health for a Better World. Informative conversations with Providence health professionals on urban family focus every Saturday in April at 7 a.m. Get to know more at providence.org.
If you say you care about the community, you have to also care about the climate. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we've got your black.
Sometimes we lose, sometimes we win. Sometimes we try to fit it all in. Sometimes we don't know what's in store. Sometimes we find what we're looking for. Sometimes we're rolling easy and free. Sometimes 1 and 1 makes 3. So much to love along this ride. That's why Nationwide is on your side.
Nationwide Mutual Insurance Company and Affiliates, Columbus, Ohio.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Single Moms Planet is a nonprofit organization dedicated to uplifting under-resourced single mom business owners and working mothers nationwide. Single Moms Planet offers comprehensive programs of financial literacy, business development, mentorship, and entrepreneurial training. They provide education, accountability, and hope. Single Moms Planet was founded by model, TV personality, and producer Nefertari Plessy. Nefertari felt firsthand the challenges that face single moms as she was raised by a working single mother. She learned that the most disadvantaged group in the United States are single mom families. According to the U.S. Census, 30% live under the poverty line. So she decided to do something about it, along with co-founder Cole Patterson. Their goal is to end the poverty cycle in single mother households through education, opportunity, and networking, providing family and child enrichment programs for under-resourced single-parent families. Single Moms Planet serves over 10,000 single moms and their children each year. Studies show that business development and financial literacy provide a positive environment for children and families, exposing them to new possibilities and opportunities. To attend one of their fun events, make a donation, or get more information, or if you need help as a single mom, please visit singlemomsplanet.org. That's singlemomsplanet.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Giving you your daily dose of entertainment and celebrity news. You're inside The Raw Report with Robin Ayers on KBLA Talk 1580.
Well, it's Monday, and let's kick it off with a little bit of jazz. This is Jasmine Gent kicking it up. Check it out. liking that. I'm liking it. Okay. I see it. I see it. I see it. I love it. I love it. This definitely feels good. This reminds me of summertime under the stars, summertime, at a live venue. I love watching live music, jazz in particular. Woo! Hits me right here. I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, you guys are awesome. Thank you so much for joining me and tuning into the Raw Report with Robin Ayers. And I appreciate you guys up in the Raw Squad, up in our YouTube chat. You guys are always setting it off up in there. So I definitely appreciate that. I appreciate Daja Bell for joining me as my contributor today. Something for the uncles and the aunties. Boris, you are not lying. That is well said. I guess I am an auntie and I wear that proudly. Okay, I'm gonna wear it proudly. Well, I appreciate you guys. It is definitely going to be another fire show tomorrow. Listen, if you don't want to miss it right now, you can turn on the iHeartMedia Awards. I believe it's airing tonight. If it's not, I will have the date for you. But the iHeartMedia Awards people are arriving right now. Beyonce has accepted the Innovator Awards, which is pretty cool. She's doing some awesome things with that album that she just dropped. So anyway, you guys, I appreciate you so much. You already know Zoe Williams, the voice of reason. He is coming up right after me with a fire show like he always brings. My name, of course, is Robin Ayers. And remember, today and every single day forward, be a blessing.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton. Here's the latest on the Black Information Network. President Biden will visit Baltimore on Friday following the collapse of the Francis Scott Key Bridge. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre, who is Black, said the president will meet with federal and local officials and get a look at response efforts on the ground. The bridge collapsed last week after it was struck by a cargo ship. The incident resulted in the death of 6 construction